This is Mon Health Talk, a weekly program focusing on the dedicated physicians, nurses, and staff at Mon Health, the region's premier community hospital system. People with skillful hands and bright minds using state-of-the-art technology. We don't just practice medicine, we care for people like family. That's why at Mon Health, you can feel the difference. Once again, welcome to this edition of Mon Health Talk.
Good morning, and how about a Merry Christmas here on Christmas Eve as we dive into Mon Health Talk. Andrea McCarty is joining us this morning. She is the Diabetes Education Coordinator at Mon Health Medical Center. You also have a bunch of letters after your last name, which I assume makes you very important.
We'll pretend that, yes.
Well, good morning. Merry Christmas. How you doing?
Great. Merry Christmas to you,
Are
too.
you ready for the big day?
I am.
Okay.
I am. I'm very excited for Christmas.
You got kids? Well, there's a great way to start the show. You got kids? Do you got kids at home?
I have a 4.5-year-old.
Boy, girl?
Boy.
Is he ready? Is he ready for the big night?
He's been ready since about September.
But you know what? That means you get to play the Santa's watching card.
We've started that probably in September. Yes.
My mom would pull that out in July.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Santa's watching. It's 95, but he's watching.
Yes.
Well, we could sit and probably talk about Santa for the next half hour. I mean, we could do that if you want. We're going to talk about diabetes and managing diabetes through the holidays. We're going to get to that in a moment, but let's get a little background on you and what you do with Mon Health Medical Center. As I mentioned, you're the Diabetes Education Coordinator.
Right. And my responsibility is to manage the program, the Diabetes Education Program, as well as our Diabetes Prevention Program. My background, I am a certified diabetes educator, but I'm also a registered dietitian. So heads up for those listening here on Christmas Eve, you are listening to a dietitian for right now. But our job is to provide education to patients to help them make lifestyle changes, to either manage their diabetes or decrease their risk of getting it.
So a dietitian during the holidays, that seems like that's two conflicting, or could be two conflicting things.
That's the thought. But we're actually, as a dietitian, we're not as bad as most people think. We're actually here to help make it easier and maybe take some of the guilt off of you if you feel you're not doing the right choices.
I never feel guilty eating during the holidays, by the way.
And you shouldn't, because that when you
And
feel
it
guilty,
shows.
that makes you make more bad or what you would call bad choices.
Oh, they're probably not good choices during the holidays. But for folks who are managing their diabetes, or let's back up. When I say managing diabetes, what does that mean? What am I doing when I'm trying to manage either type 1 or type 2? Or is there a difference between managing type 1 and type 2?
When it comes to meal planning, there's not a huge difference between the two, but medication management will be extremely different for type 1 and type 2. Type 1 patients will require insulin for survival. Patients with type 2 diabetes, they might have no medication. They might need just oral agents, or they may also need insulin. Depends on the stage of their disease.
What's the difference between type 1 and type 2?
Type 1 is typically diagnosed before the age of 30, and something has happened to the beta cells of the pancreas the beta cells have been destroyed, and they produce no insulin whatsoever. Type 2 diabetes is more, it comes on more slowly. It's not more pronounced with very strong symptoms. Higher risk of type 2 diabetes is going to be somebody that may be overweight or have a family history, because insulin resistance would be pre-existing. So your body's making insulin, but it just doesn't all work to lower the blood glucose.
So as we go through the holidays, and really that starts in November with Thanksgiving, and we just kind of drag it right on through New Year's with the big meals and the parties and the get-togethers and all that goes into that. What kind of challenges do just the holidays in general present for patients managing their diabetes?
Well, there's an abundance of food available to us at this time of year. As you said, it starts Thanksgiving all the way through New Year's. But the other challenge is there's so much demand on our time for things to get done, things to do, places to go, people to see. So that can become a stressor. So stress, as well as the abundance of food and stress on our time, can make it more challenging to manage the disease. Because not only when you're managing diabetes do you need to worry about what you're eating, physical activity is still important. And the more we eat, really the more exercise we need to do. So if you're no time to eat right, you probably won't have time to exercise either.
It sounds like for the average person, you skip the gym because you got to go to do this, or, well, it's only one extra piece of pie, or it's just, you mentioned time, you get to do on several other things. You go, well, I'll get to that later. If you are trying to manage your diabetes, missing, I'll check my blood sugar levels later, or I'll take that insulin shot later. Those are could lead to major complications.
Right, it can. The challenge is if you are not taking care of your diabetes, if your blood glucose becomes elevated, you're going to feel lousy. And nobody really wants to feel lousy this time of year either. It could make you feel more tired, which you're going to miss out on things if you find yourself sleeping more. So some people say, well, I'll take a holiday from my diabetes or a vacation from my diabetes, but in turn it actually hurts because you're not going to feel well as a result of doing that.
We're talking to Andrea McCarty this morning, Diabetes Education Coordinator at Mon Health Medical Center. Coming up after the break, we kind of touched on it. Thanksgiving dinner. You're probably going to have a Christmas dinner tonight. You may have already had a couple of Christmas parties. Well, what do you eat if you are trying to manage your diabetes? We'll talk about that. And I want to know more about this vacation. Can you take a vacation from your diabetes? Sneak in that extra cookie. We'll continue the conversation with Andrea. Coming up next, you're listening to Mon Health Talk right here on WAJR. Andrea McCarty is joining us this morning, Diabetes Education Coordinator at Mon Health Medical Center, and talking about managing your diabetes through the holiday season. And I was kind of joking before the break. Can you take a vacation from your diabetes? And we kind of reference that. You can't just disregard it, right?
Right. If you you can't ignore diabetes, or you can't ignore any aspect of your health, because like many things you ignore, eventually it goes away, and that's not what we want for our health. But not managing your diabetes or taking a break from it can create some other stressors or some other risks or complications possibly.
So how do I make it all work? Because eating is such a big part of the holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner, New Year's Day, there's parties, there's food, there's cookies, there's pie. Oh, yeah, I can't wait to get to dinner later tonight. However, how do I make it all work, still enjoy it, still participate, and still not take that vacation, ignore what I got to do?
I think that's where a lot of people, and this is where diabetes educators can come in, they assume we're going to tell you what you can't do. The first thing you've got to understand in managing diabetes year-round, not just at the holidays, is there's no good or bad foods. You can eat what you want. Moderation needs to be your friend. That second cookie will taste no better than the first one did.
Well,
there you go. Kind of pace yourself through the day, because really meal planning for diabetes, you can eat whatever you want. It's how much and when. Do you eat it all at once, or not eat anything all day and save it all for that big meal? That's not a good idea for diabetes. You need to eat several times through the day. As some people say, piecing on food, but several times through the day, eat. And if you have a little extra than you think you should have, you have options. You can either accept the fact it may make your blood sugar go up, or you can add some physical activity in and it may not have any effect on blood sugar. But I will say, for taking the vacation from diabetes, choose to do what you choose to do and embrace your choices, but don't stop testing your blood sugar, because you might be surprised. You may assume blood sugar is going to be much worse if you're making poor choices, and it might actually not be bad at all. You may be surprised.
So you can't bank, I guess, to get ready for dinner and go, hey, I didn't eat anything all day. I can have that cinnamon roll tonight.
Yes, yeah, and you can eat all day and still have that cinnamon roll tonight. But you're making that choice that the cinnamon roll at that moment may be more important to you than making sure your blood sugar doesn't go up, and that is your choice.
Is there a recommended diet to follow that will help get you through, this period of the year?
It's more an eating plan or eating style, and it's very individualized. The main things we encourage people to do is don't skip meals and don't go more than 4 to 5 hours when you're awake without eating anything. And make sure every time you eat, you have some carbohydrate present. And it can be a small amount, but some carbohydrate, because carbohydrate can cause blood glucose to go up. So if you have a little bit each time you eat, your blood sugar will just go up a little bit each time. But if you save it all for one big, huge meal, your blood glucose will go up very high at that meal.
How much time does it take to sit down and just, like you say, meal plan or plan ahead that this is what I'm going to eat, when I'm going to eat it? How in-depth do you need to go?
It takes a lot more planning when you're just learning the process. But over time, it becomes second nature to most people. They know that I need a portion of this at every meal, or I need, I can have potatoes at each meal. I can't have 2 cups of mashed potatoes, but I can have a cup of mashed potatoes and have some meat and have some vegetables and maybe even some fruit still, and that's a full meal. But if you want extra cookies and pie after the meal, you may want to cut back your potato portion a little bit, or again, still have the full-size dinner you want, still have the dessert you want, and expect and be prepared for a possible elevated glucose after the fact.
How much of your job is that, working with patients who are new to this, trying to figure out a meal plan that works for them, or trying to figure out what they can have when? How much of your day is kind of being a consultant, I guess?
We're coaches. We're essentially telling patients, this is what happens in your body with diabetes. This is what will help you improve your glucose control. And then letting the patient decide, what are you willing to do? What's realistic for you to do? And for some people, meal planning isn't even realistic for them. Maybe physical activity would be more so. Or maybe just encouraging them to test their blood glucose more often might be more appropriate. But we are coaches, coaching patients to make healthy behaviors work for them and their disease.
As family members of someone who may have diabetes, are there things that we need to watch out for if somebody is showing symptoms, or what should we look for to know that somebody needs some sort of attention, needs that apple, or is about to have trouble?
The most common symptom, and that would be for a low blood glucose, shakiness, dizziness, lightheadedness, extreme hunger, like so hungry you could eat anything put in front of you, and that sense of urgency that you need to eat. And in that case, eating something that has carbohydrate with very little fat or protein. So think orange juice, regular soda. Hard candies are just harder to eat. Straight honey or jelly or sugar, but only about a tablespoon of the honey, sugar, or jelly, and about 4 ounces of the juice or the regular soda. That will bring blood sugar up pretty quickly, but you still want to eat something like a full meal or snack within the next 30 minutes.
Talking to Andrea McCarty. She's the diabetes education coordinator at Mon Health Medical Center. Coming up on the other side of this break, all right, the downside to the holidays. You're around a lot of kids. You're around a lot of family. Somebody is going to have the sniffles. What to do if you get sick and you need to manage your diabetes, and how about just preventing getting sick at all? We'll talk to Andrea about that on the other side of the break. You're listening to Mon Health Talk right here on WAJR. And Andrea McCarty is joining us, diabetes education coordinator at Mon Health Medical Center, talking about managing diabetes, stress. We've talked about diets. We've talked about trying to get through the holiday buffet, but inevitably, Andrea, there's going to be little ones around, and I hate to pick on the little ones, but I will. Somebody will have the sniffles. Somebody will use the tablecloth to wipe their nose. And you just may, hey, you're laughing, but you know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you?
Only at the finer establishments will that happen. Yes, yes.
But inevitably, a lot of us will end up also catching the sniffles during the holiday season. But what kind of challenges does that present if you're already trying to manage your diabetes and now you've got a cold? Now you've caught the flu on top of that.
There are a few things you want to keep in mind if you're sick, is that illness in itself, whether you're eating or not, is going to make your blood glucose go up. So under no circumstances, unless directed by your provider, don't stop taking your diabetes medicine even if you're not eating, because the illness can make your blood sugar go up. And the other thing, keep fluids in you. Even if it's just a basic cold, if you have a fever or not, keep pushing fluids. And we encourage the caffeine-free fluids for that because they hydrate us better. For individuals with diabetes that are prone to higher blood glucose, if you become dehydrated, your blood glucose can go up a lot quicker. And a lot higher, and in some cases may require hospitalization even just to rehydrate.
Do you need to stick to
fluids?
Do you need to stick to water or sports drinks? Are those
flavored
good?
Waters can work. And I encourage patients, if you have one of those illnesses, and we hope no one has that this Christmas, is one of those illnesses where you're not able to keep foods or solids in, you actually need to drink your calories. So the sports beverages that have calories, we would recommend that. You need the calories to fuel your body to have enough energy to fight the illness off. So you would be drinking your food essentially, or drinking the calories in that case. But if you're eating solid foods, then you need the calorie and caffeine-free beverages, like the zero version or the low-calorie versions.
Got a couple of minutes left, so what can we do to prevent getting sick? Is it the same basic things that, Mom taught us years ago?
It is. There are two things that I will say are the big standouts. If it's a flu vaccine, that has been proven to be effective, but not everybody's comfortable getting that, so we respect that. So if you didn't vaccinate, or if you're just trying to prevent a cold, there's no vaccine for that, wash your hands. And when you're done, wash them again. Keep wash your hands, avoid close hand contact with others that are sick with things like the flu. However, they are contagious or can spread that disease or that condition even when the symptoms aren't showing up. So you need to make sure that you're washing hands, avoiding close contact with people during the cold and flu season. Cover your coughs. Wash your hands after you wipe a nose, blow a nose, those things. Even if it's blown on the linens at the table, wash your hands when you're done.
It sounds like overall, when you're getting ready for the holidays, you're going to dinner, whatever it is, just take a minute and think a couple of steps ahead, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah, just pre-planning. Understand that you don't have to be defined by your diabetes. It can just be a little piece of you. And doing what you know to do most of the time should get you through this whole holiday unscathed.
What's the best way can people reach out to you individually?
Sure.
Do they need to reach out to Mon Health? How can they get in touch if they want to, get a diabetes coach, if you will?
They can reach out to us. The department I'm in is the Diabetes Learning Center at Mon Health. You can call Mon Health directly and ask to speak with the diabetes educators, or you can ask to speak with me, again, Andrea McCarty. And we have one-on-one visits and group visits. We also have a diabetes support group that meets the third Wednesday of every month, and that's another opportunity to get more information.
That seems like it'd be very, very helpful. Again, it seems it doesn't matter what the ailment is. You feel like you're the only one that has to deal with it. Just knowing other people are dealing with some of the same things. They might even have some tips and tricks, don't they?
That's true. And a lot of times, I'll be honest, I've been an educator for almost 20 years, and a lot of the things I know I've actually learned from patients I've met through the program in how they walk every day in their shoes with diabetes. You learn a lot of that in support group and through education.
Andrea McCarty, Diabetes Education Coordinator at Mon Health Medical Center. Thank you for coming in on Christmas Eve morning, and I hope Santa Claus pays a visit to the house tonight.
Thank you. Same to you.
Do you leave cookies out, even though you're a dietitian?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
I'm a dietitian, but I'm also a mother and a believer in Santa.
Coming up, we got the top of the hour, Fox News, local news, Metro News, talk of the town coming up next.